Hi, and welcome to another watch list, my rundown of what I've been watching and what I've been up to. We usually talk about 5 films, and 5 films this week that are loosely themed around world cinema. A mixed bag as always, so strap in and we'll see what we'll come up with here. We're going to start with the first and second run releases, and it's a Milos Jankso film from Hungary. And it is Elektra, My Love. So Elektra, My Love is from 1974. Hopefully you'll get a good look at it there. And it is a bit of absurdist cinema, if I want for a better word. It tells the story broadly of a tyrant looking after a kingdom who has got this beautiful woman there, or used to be beautiful woman. It's, she's aged a bit. The tyrant murdered her father and sent her brother into exile for fear that he would come and take the kingdom back over. And she is kind of still there as a symbol of power within the people. It's a hard film to describe this, because obviously the tyrant's trying to hold on to power. She wants to get revenge for the murder of her father, for the exile of his brother. It doesn't take too much of a stretch to say the brother's going to come back into it, but maybe not in the way that you think about, or how that whole thing's going to resolve. Especially because it kind of appears to be a bit of a period piece. It's kind of like this medievally shot thing, very much in an open field. And, well, one of the peculiarities and one of the things that makes it kind of amazing is how it is shot. And that is in these long sweeping single takes, as this camera comes in and focuses in on some central characters straight away, and then zooms out and carries the whole thing, switches around them, and there's this kind of intense choreography that happens of the people moving across shot, moving out, dancing, rolling, posturing, posing. It's all very medieval or Shakespearean in nature, but it's from 1974 and it's Hungarian, and I would even say that the theme of that medieval thing doesn't even hold true the whole way through it. It's kind of bizarre and kind of brilliant. So, being one of those films from second run that's often presenting something completely different that you will never see otherwise, we have the styling, theming that are butting heads against each other. Never loses its place too much because it's not too long of a film. It's only 74 minutes long, and 74 minutes isn't long enough for it to nearly lose its theme and plot. You will hit certain points when you're watching it going, come on, hold on, I thought he was him, or I thought he wasn't. You have to go with it. You'll see where it ends up. You'll see that it doesn't just kind of tie itself up in a neat bow anyway. So you kind of have to stick with it and see how you go from there. But an utterly, utterly amazing piece of cinema. And again, one that I probably wouldn't see anywhere else aside from on a Criterion release. Possibly, but I don't think this has a Criterion release yet. So at the moment, second run is the place to go. An absolute beauty, and another reason to support that label as much as you can. Second one up is also from second run, and it's the next one in the spine order, if you want, from those ones, and it is another Hungarian film, but this time from 1989, and it is My 20th Century by Ildikó Enyedi. And I mean, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but this is another film that I just thought was utterly wonderful. It tells the story of a mother giving birth to 2 twin girls at the start, Lily and Dora. And it cuts forward a short space of time till they're both young girls, and they both get split up for one reason or another. They're both taken their separate ways by 2 different men, and they grow up apart from each other. And again, we cut forward another few years, and their lives sort of intertwine around this time, and that is that they've both grown up very, very differently. It's a bit of an exploration into, class and the effect that it has on you, because while one has grown up pretty much in an aristocratic life, she's become this female character who uses and abuses men to suit her needs. She's very, very beautiful, and she has men swooning over them. So she has men fight over her and buy her things and treat her, etc., etc. And she is on the train in one of the beautiful carriages, first class carriages it seems, and she is getting wined and dined by all around her. And at the same time, her sister, who she's been separated from, comes on the train, but she is obviously grown up in a lot more of a poorer state. And she is a bit of a resistance fighter, it seems to be. She's plotting to plant bombs, plotting with the resistance to further her political needs. And you kind of see these contrasts of these two people. You know, they both came from the same place, but this is where life has led them to. And actually their characters and ideals that go with them. One is very much flaunting her sexuality, and the other one is very much unsure of her sexuality and how it fits and how it defines her as a woman. Interspersed with this, you have this character who is called Z in the write-ups that I've seen, and he's this mysterious man who's very much taken with the poor of the two sisters, and really takes a shine to her. But like I say, she's not quite sure of her place, both sexually or as a woman, or at times she has a cause that she fights for, and that's what she's interested in. And Z would like to fit in here, but again, he's a bit aloof himself, and isn't really sure. And his centre character is where the second half of the film seems to revolve around, with these two girls, figuratively and also in terms of camera work, etc. It's an utterly fascinating piece of film. It's an utterly amazing piece of cinema that's directed and made here. And again, another one I absolutely urge you to check out. If you like things that are a bit interesting, if you like things that present things in a way that you probably haven't seen in a new light or way, then second run, as often do, just smash it out of the park, don't they? So there is that. Next release, well, I can talk about these two releases kind of side by side because they are by the same filmmaker. And the first that I'm going to talk about is Man Pushcart. So Man Pushcart is a film by director Ramin Bahrani, and it's his debut feature, and it tells the story of a street worker in New York who basically hires out a food van and works there, gets up ridiculously early in the morning, works kind of all day, cleans the van, sells his bagels, that kind of stuff, coffee to people, and then the cycle repeats every day. It's very poorly paid labour, and one that is thankless as he's just trying to make enough money to be able to afford to buy the cart subsequently at the end of the day. This will be his lifeblood, and he'll not have to have the money to pay off and rent it. He can just purchase it and then keep more of the money for himself so that he can build a life for his family, basically. And it's a very tough experience to watch. You really feel for this man, with the hours that he puts in, the time that he puts in, and the effort that he puts in, and finding that he just can't seem to get ahead. The one redeeming factor that he can find is a fellow countryman of his, being an immigrant worker from Iran. He finds somebody else that's in a similar position, but somebody that's much more well off. And this person seems to trying to help him. He tries to find him a better job, but the better job is in the time, and it starts to interfere with sleep. He can't balance the two things together. And while the job is better prospects initially, in the long term he sees himself as owning his own land, making his own space and doing that. So he runs into trouble. And Bahrani, as it says in the extras of this, is the kind of filmmaker that, you know, he could tell the story about the banker, he could tell the story about other things, but he wanted to concentrate on telling stories of the people that you weren't noticing. So the people in the background who were, while you were thinking about the big investment, whatever you were doing in the bank, who was the person that was serving you coffee, what was his life like? I think it's a really gorgeous piece of filmmaking. It shows the gritty side maybe of immigrant life in New York. And you have an actor who is a first-time actor, he's a novice actor, he's an amateur, and, you know, it speaks probably to the amount of good direction and cinematography that's in this piece, that you really feel for this man and his circumstances. Contrast that with the other film that I watched was by Ramin Bahrani as well, and that's his next film, which is Chop Shop, which tells the story of a young immigrant boy and girl, brother and sister, who work in a chop shop. Sorry, the brother works in a chop shop. He's a very young boy. He runs about and basically steals stuff and sells them back to the place he's working for, and he just tells people to go in certain directions in cars. And not only does he earn a wage for this, but they give a very humble abode to live in. It's kind of above the garage, which is a 1-bedroom apartment kind of thing for them just to lay their head. And the sister and the brother are both trying to make enough money, again, to get out of this cycle of, you know, their life. They want better for themselves. They're very well prepared to work hard, but again, the system or life, etc., just, they don't seem to be able to get a break. And partly of that is because they want things a lot quicker than they want to take shortcuts. They want to get there quicker than life maybe let them. And to make this even more difficult is the fact that everybody else around them is also immigrants that are just a bit further up the ladder. To them, it seems like they have a lot, but it is kind of left that these people really don't have as much as it maybe appears. Quite difficult for them to see that as the next step. They just see them as having made it. And that's often the way that class works, I suppose, is that you like somebody else who's a bit better off than you, think they have it all, and you in the background are just left with, well, I have nothing, I wish I could get there, they've made it. But those people are also struggling as well. The two films together, I just think, are absolutely brilliant. They're really good slices of life, looks, in a dramatic sense, of immigrant life within America. And as often as is nice about these things, it shows that this hard life often sits and runs right alongside what would be a more affluent life, or the better life, or the life that many people expect from the American dream or otherwise. And both are highly recommended. Both are out in Criterion in America at the moment. If you can't watch them in Criterion on disc, they're on the Criterion channel, which is where I watch them, and both are heartily recommended. The last film I'm going to talk about is... Do you ever get that thing where you buy a film, right? And you pick it up and you buy it, and you buy the nice edition of it because you're not going to wait. And then it sits on your shelf and you're going, I am never going to watch that. Why did I buy that? The themes of that are just something that I know I'll just not like. That I find that very difficult. I'll nearly watch it, if I do watch it, behind a settee, that kind of old idea. Well, that's this film for me. But it's one of those films that, again, you buy it because a lot of people say there's something worth watching about it. And there's enough people saying enough good things about it that you kind of think to yourself, well, there's no way that this film can be what I think it is, because that film is Raw. And this is the second sight release of Raw. An absolute beauty, as second sight films often are. And well, Julia Ducournau is the director and the writer of this. And it has, sorry, I hope you can see that, has an 18 rating. Raw, you should probably already know if you've seen anything or heard anything about Raw, is a film that has some story elements about cannibalism. And I think that's it's a bit reductive to say that about Raw, because Raw tells the story of a young girl who is following in her family tradition and going to veterinary school, where her sister is already a pupil there, but she's going to be a senior. She's going to graduate this year, so she's going to start off. She's starting at the bottom. Her sister is just leaving, and her father and mother both met there and fell in love there. And she gets there, and this veterinary school is, well, it has got a very severe hazing system. It starts off with them getting woken up on the end of the first night for an all-night rave, where they get dragged out of their bed, all their beds get thrown out onto the middle of the courtyard in the middle, and they have to attend this all-day rave, and they can't go to sleep, etc. And it goes on from there. There's even more ridiculous things that happen again and again and again and again. And coupled with all this is, you know, the main character's idea that she's very vegan. She's vegan in her ideals. One of the reasons I think that she wants to work with animals is because she has a deep love of animals, and that she wants to look after them, and obviously eating meat doesn't fall in with them. And some of the hazing techniques they get them to do kind of clash very quickly with her ideals in this. which is all well and fine, except she finds herself in a situation where she is faced with a human finger, and she's compelled to chomp on it. Now, obviously, the shock value of this is enough to kind of make you go, what the hell am I watching? What the hell is all this about? And if it was just that by itself, it would be okay, but it definitely touches on the edge of, you know, decency. I think there is to say that. But all the while this is going on, you have a really considered and beautifully shot movie that isn't just a gore fest, or it isn't just being done. You're very well aware that there's more to this movie than just kind of shock value and cannibalism, because there's way more care in it than that. And it's one of the reasons that you'll stick with it and you'll keep working with it, because the central performance of the main girls that are in it are outstanding. They're utterly incredible. They're really captivating. You really believe and feel every emotion that they're going to feel. And the other fringe characters that come into their life or otherwise, as they start to see the effects of everything that's going on and how this works against each other, the whole thing builds to a crescendo that, again, is a bit hard to watch. Obviously, intentionally so. But unbelievable, I'm going to watch it again. There's something really in this film. I've seen that it is about allegories to addiction, etc., all that kind of stuff. May very well be true, but I actually don't need that to watch it again. There are themes and camaraderie and filmmaking in there. You know, the ending kind of pulls it all together for you in a way that you go, right, okay. That makes me re-examine everything that happens along the film. It'll sit with you and get you to think about many of the things that you were wondering about beforehand. And yeah, an utterly terrific release. And as usual with the Second Sight stuff, the list of extras are unbelievable. It's a toughie to watch initially, but I find myself compelled. But I can also see how somebody else would look at it and go, no, that's just too much for me. That's just enough. And again, people that I really respect their viewpoint, etc., I've come away with that same thing. And I did watch it thinking, well, I'll buy it, I'll watch it. If I don't like it, I can sell it on, because these things very rarely lose their value. But this is one that's been very much pride of place on my recommendations that I've watched this year. Something I really, really enjoyed. So that's our watch list for another week. If you've seen any of the movies, let me know. If you've heard about any of the movies, let me know what you've heard about them and see whether they match up with my thoughts or otherwise. And if you let me know what you've been watching, that would be fantastic as well. Always great to get recommendations for forthcoming weeks. Alright, if you've made it this far, thanks for watching and take care. All the best.